Chaleos from the KSL Greenhouse. Today I am combining two of my favorite things in this video, fairies and succulents, for this fairy garden container. When we're done with the container, I'm actually putting it together to fit right on top of the trunk of that tree right there, where I'm going to create a succulent garden for a second video that we'll have for you. So what you need to do today is make sure you have the following things available to you. I've gone to my local greenhouse and I have picked hardy succulents that will deal well with our Utah winters. Even though I'm probably not going to keep this container outside in the winter, everything that I've selected really fits the Utah climate. So I've picked these really cute plants. What else you're also going to need, I've filled the container already with this wonderful cactus soil, so you'll want to have that handy. I also have a variety of moss, just regular moss and then a sheet moss. And the sheet moss I'm going to use just sort of as my yard for my fairy garden. I'm going to place it right here at the back. Other things that you're going to need, of course, fairies. So I have some really cute fairies for you. I want to keep everything kind of to scale. I think fairies are great, but I don't like them to get too cutesy. So I've just picked the ones that I think are just a little bit elegant, on the elegant side. You're also going to need maybe a little shovel, some stones. We have some stones for you to make some paths. I also have some gravel to make paths. And just anything that you might think would fit perfectly into your fairy garden. You really can use your imagination and just make it something that's just a little bit of magic for you. So let's begin. I'm going to begin with my house. My little fairy garden house, and I know I'm going to put it at the back. And then I've placed it on what I told you is going to be my yard. And I'm going to make this look like it's more realistic. I'm going to kind of, rather than a piece of a sheet of moss sitting on top, I want it to look like it's actually a little more realistic. So I'm going to put some dirt around the outside of it. Okay, so there's my house. Then I'm going to want a nice tree by my house. So I'm going to pick this hardy succulent. Looks more like a tree because it's a little larger, grows more upright. And I'm going to put my tree off to the side. Take him out of the container and plant him approximately here. Again, making sure he's in there nice and snugly. Then I know that I want my little fairy gardens tea set to be over on this side. One of the ways to do this, if you're just not sure how you want it to look, is to really set these things out beforehand. So you can take a variety of your plants and just kind of set them out and see what they look like. I love this little trailing perennial, so I know that I want it to be over by my fairy here somewhere. I also know that I want to put in kind of a little walkway, and that's where your gravel comes in. You can use gravel or you can use stone. Gravel will take you a little less time. You can use different colored gravel. There are so many different varieties. And maybe have it trail off to the side. Just putting enough so you can tell that it's a walkway. I'm going to want to plant some hardy sedum along my walkway. So let's see, I have a couple of different varieties to choose from. You can choose the kind that's a little bit more orange and green. But my gravel's that color, so I think I'm going to pick something a little more green to kind of contrast the colors. Careful not to damage the succulent as you're pulling it out. The little pot. The hole needs to be a little deeper. So I want that to be flat. And over the summer, this sedum will grow along the pathway there. You'll probably have to trim it back a little bit. There, and that's going to grow nicely along my pathway, and it'll fill in on both sides of my path. Then I'm going to take a look and go, let's see. I'm going to move this guy down a little bit. I'm going to want some extra color in here. Revise my plan a little bit. I love these beautiful sempervivums, also called hens and chicks. Remembering that I'm doing this as much for a beautiful succulent display as a fairy garden display. Again, thinking more about garden. Like I said, you can actually take the little plants, set them out, decide where you think they'll work the best before you get going on this. Just trying to put in some contrasting colors and make these pop a little bit. So I'm being super careful because this little guy is really fragile. And I just love how the little extensions of it kind of drape over the plant. Still not deep enough. Burying my table there. To kind of drape over that bench just a little bit so you can I can take advantage of that characteristic of the plant, and you can see how cute it is. Then I don't want my fairy to have her feet in the dirt. So I'm going to take some moss. Let's see, I think I'm going to use this moss. Teeny bit of moss in this little tea area. I know if I'm going to have tea, I don't want my feet in the dirt. Fairy, plainer flute. fits. And I might move that bench. I'm not sure that she's going to have someone join her for tea. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so then I want to add a few more succulents along my pathway, leaving room for these to grow a little bit as well. I like the variation in color. Making sure that each one's pressed firmly in there in the soil. And as these fill in, they are going to be so cute. Then I have my little sign pointing to my fairies and my gnomes. So I know I want to put it here. And then I'm going to want a little tree by it. Or bush, whatever you want to imagine this is. Yeah, notice I'm being really careful to make sure that the plant is even with the soil, not indented in. Succulents really like to sit on top of the soil, and so do the sedums. I think the purpley red on this plant is going to pull out the red in this one. Now I'm just kind of trying to see what I like, what looks good to me. I want whoever is enjoying my container to be able to see different things when they look at it, different kinds of plants. I think the really fun thing about succulents is they're all so different and so unique, and they're really fun to look at. I also don't want them to look like I planted them all in a row, or that I planted them perfectly matching on each side. It's really, nature just never turns out that way. Sorry, fairy. This plant is so fragile, I think that we need ladybugs over here just to kind of make it pop a little bit. And just add the accents wherever you get the urge. All right, and then I'm just going to fill in a few of the spots that I think just still need a little something. Looking at some of these dead leaves. Or petals. I'll have to blow these out a little bit when we're done. So there's a fine balance between having too many plants where your viewer just can't see what's in the planters and really enjoy the different types of plants. So you don't want to have too many and you don't want to have too few. You want it to be really interesting. And of course you want to have fun. And then we can put some of the final touches from our fairies. I love this little tea set. It's just so cute. Have a couple of sweet animals to hide. Making them look just as natural as possible. Hiding underneath that tree here. And then when you're done, you're really gonna have to think about how you're going to water this. Probably depending on your climate, probably need to water it once every 7 to 10 days. This has a hole in the bottom, so this will drain. So I'm gonna water them along the base of each plant. They were kind of dry when we started. And again, succulents need very little water, so don't overwater them. Always make sure they're completely dry before you water them. And again, the whole point of this is for you to have something enjoyable in your yard, something you're going to enjoy, something people coming to your yard are going to enjoy, and it's supposed to be fun. So don't do it exactly like I do it. In fact, do it differently. Have a lot of fun with it. And make sure you watch the KSL Greenhouse Show Saturday mornings from 8 to 11.